good morning, afternoon, evening, whatever it is for you right now. I'm not sure what it is for me. Um, Welcome to Channel Otherdoc. I'm Jim. I use he, him pronouns, and today we are playing The Deep Forest by Mark Diaz Truman and Avery Alder. This is a reimagining of The Quiet Year, also by Avery Alder. Just as a reminder for folks watching, we are actually on this channel doing a donation drive through our Sprawl campaign for the Vale project. I've put the link in the thingy where people type things. Chat, that's the word for it. This is going to be an awesome vocabulary day, I can tell already. I was up till 4 a.m. last night. and then I tried to get up early today, and hilarity resulted. So we're doing that for as long as the Sprawl campaign continues. It'll be another 2 or 3 weeks while that's going on. So please to check out that. Also, please to check out Campaign 0, which is an organization dedicated to ending police violence. So both of those, I'd feel free to go and take a look at that. On the donation drive, we are getting close to our goal. Our goal is like $500 for the Vale project to give bail assistance to protesters. Very important right now. Incredibly freaking important. So please check that out. Let's see. What are we doing? Oh, yes. We're going to play The Deep Forest. And so we don't actually have individual characters or anything for this. But I'm going to go around and say hi to everyone, say who they are, and ask them if they have a favorite enchanted creature or a fictional creature, or if not a favorite, one that they like or one that they don't hate. And I'm just going to go directly down from myself over to Theater Nerd. Hello.
Hi, my name is Theater Nerd. I use they, them pronouns. That was a tough question because I'm also playing Urban Shadows, which has a lot of the fae and vampires and werewolves and other things. I don't know why I'm waving my hands like, never mind.
That's where the information's located. We have to scroll through to get
I have to pick it out of the air.
Yeah.
Initially, I went with vampires, and then dragons came to mind, and I've been reading about Greek mythological monsters for Urban Shadows for reasons. So yes, those are my answers.
Excellent. Good. Those are all very good answers. I too am a fan of Urban Shadows. I cannot get enough of it. But now let us pan down to Rock. Hello.
Hey, Jim. So Rock, he, him pronouns. That's my favorite one is a tough call. Usually I'm going to say dragons. Although recently I was reminded of a time when I got to hear Robert O'Reilly recite the Jabberwocky.
Ooh.
And so that's kind of been in my head lately.
Nice. That is a good one. That's a very good one. Yeah, see, I tend also, if someone just sort of throws the question at me, I probably say dragons, because those are fun. I like basilisks quite a lot, maybe a little too much. I just have the various creatures from, I liked the ones from Greek mythology. I like sphinxes. Those are kind of cool. Many various and sundry types of beings. But before we get fully into the idea of this, like we do with most games on this channel, we're going to be using the X card, the N card, and the O card. If we hit something that is crossing a line for one of us, any of us can type an X in the Zoom video chat or anywhere else, or make an X symbol, and we will back up and do something else. If something happens that we're okay having in the game, but we don't want a graphic description of it, we can type an N in the Zoom chat, and we will fade to black on it or put it behind a veil, so it'll be there, but we won't go into detail. Finally, if we are exploring a topic or an area of roleplay that's particularly intense for us, but we want to keep going anyway, we can put an O in the chat to let us know we're okay and that we're all good to keep piling on the drama. Something else we can do is that we can put an O with a question mark after it if we're moving into a difficult topic, or if we say or we do something and then think, maybe that might have been a little too much. Then everyone else can respond to that, and again, with an X, an N, or an O to let us know if we're still doing okay.
All right.
Now, the deep forest. Once upon a time. I'm going to go over the rules. Here as we're looking through this. This is the opening story. For a long time, our monstrous home was occupied by invading humans. Now, finally, we've driven them off, and we're left with this, a year of relative peace. One quiet year with which to dismantle their settlements and reclaim our lands. Come winter, a band of heroes will arrive, and we might not survive the encounter. This is when the game will end. But we don't know about that yet. What we know is that right now, in this moment, we monsters have an opportunity for healing and self-discovery in our deep forest away from human eyes. And so we've got a few things we're going to be playing with here, and I'm just basically going through what it says to do in the book right now, because it's here, it's in front of me. Let me move a couple of things on the screen so that I can actually see it a wee bit better. There we go. Okay. So we have a map that we're going to establish some of the landscape on, and as the monsters who live here, as we play, we're going to update the map to reflect new discoveries, conflicts, and opportunities. Parts of the map will be literal cartography, other parts will be symbolic. We're going to try to avoid writing words on it, though common symbols are fine. Throughout the game, we will all be responsible for drawing on this map, and it's fine to draw poorly or crudely, but all of us are going to draw. We have project dice off to the side, and when a monster starts a project, we place one on the map to note how many weeks it'll take to finish. And each week they tick down by 1. When a die reaches 0, the project is complete. We have contempt tokens, which I know are Matthias's favorite part of the game. These are contempt tokens. They represent any tension and frustration that might arise between our monsters. And then in your, if you look under the handouts, you'll find the summary card, which is kind of, that's our guide to remind us what the hell we're doing. And at any given point, each week in the Deep Forest, and in what order we do things, basically. And so that's a thing. When we hit we have a deck of 52 cards. I actually think that we're probably going to, for time purposes, we might toss 2 or 3 cards out of each of these decks when we start each one up, just for the sake of getting through the thing, for time. But when the King of Spades is drawn, that's going to be during winter. That's when the game will end. That's when the heroes arrive. It can come at any time during winter. So we go into winter, we enter sudden death. So, I'm going to ask people first, has anyone here played The Quiet Year before? Okay, no worries. Yeah. So this thing you haven't played is like this other thing that you haven't played. That's how I'm going to describe it.
I own The Quiet Year.
Oh,
I
cool.
have read. I understand the very base, loose concept of said game.
Awesome. Excellent, excellent. Yeah, so it's that. Actually, and also for folks who want to see it, the Deep Forest is available for free in PDF form on their website. I'm going to go ahead and post that in chat so folks can see it, and they can look along with us if they so desire. Let's see, there's talk about viewpoints of how we want to look at it. Yeah, monsters. The takeaway from in here that I'm just going to mention is that when we talk about monsters, that can be either a single monster or it can be a group of them. It doesn't have to be, we don't have to talk about a kobold per se if we would rather have a clutch of kobolds living somewhere. That kind of deal. When you introduce a monster to the map, remember it must be able to communicate and act, albeit perhaps unclearly or through some sort of magical means. Um, doesn't have to have a linguistics degree or anything like that. Let me see where we are here. So before the game begins, we get to sketch out some of the human occupation. We've got to establish the nature of the occupation and the lingering impact it had on the area. So we talk a little bit first about what the humans built here during the occupation, and it can be as simple as someone saying, "How about a military outpost and barracks?" and everyone else nodding in agreement. And then after that, we're going to start drawing landmarks. So what kind of human settlements, human occupation existed, do we think, in this forest?
Could it just be like farms that they cut down a bunch of forest for?
We totally can do that.
That they weren't necessarily hostile other than destroying our homes?
Sure. We can do that. Rock, do you have any thoughts about the sort of what kind of thing was it just a group of farms, or do you think it was just farmsteaders, or did they have like some kind of central thingy, or what?
I mean, the only thing that I could think of is I mean, I like the farm idea. I really think the farm idea is pretty cool. The only thing I could think of as far as like a kind of central thing is either like some kind of silo or barn, like a common storage area for where the crops are held, or another possibility would be is maybe something that would be closer to the edge of the forest. They might have had like a watchtower.
Cool. And that's cool. That makes sense. So yeah, just sort of a little settlement, or maybe a sort of a communal group of farms trying to get together their stuff together, and they had they had like watch points, a watchtower, what have you, and that works.
It just screams Viking to me. I don't know why.
Could be. Totally could be. We haven't said what kind of forest this is per se, so I mean it could be a more northern one if we wanted it. So we choose a player to draw a notable landmark that the humans left behind. It's best to keep it small and simple, and then the remaining players will demarcate the borders of the occupation. So who wants to draw a notable landmark?
My drawing skills with mouse are horrible, so...
It's all right, you're in good company there.
At least you guys have mice. Trackpad on a laptop drawing. Let's go. I can do the landmark.
Sure.
Let me pick a spot and zoom in on the map a little bit. Pick a color. So I like that they left behind their silo. That's rectangle. I don't want that. I want freehand. Although using the rectangle tool probably would have been easier. But so here is the silo and the barn and storage space. I probably need to make this a little bit taller.
Yeah. And we don't want to. Yeah. Now keep in mind this does need to be to scale, but we're probably going to want to make it about. Yeah. Well, no. Keep going. Keep going. If you.
It's all the much bigger I was going to make it.
Okay. Sure.
Which, if it needs to be scaled down, it totally can be.
Yeah, I can do that. Let me actually reselect that little line that I just drew for no apparent reason, because we don't need that. Let me see if I can just go like about that. I think that's probably going to be more what we're looking for.
It just is really hard to draw that tiny with a mouse.
Absolutely,
or a
no problem.
trackpad.
The awesome thing about the Roll20 drawing tool is you can edit the things that you draw, which is neat. Yeah, I think we're wanting the occupation to take up maybe like up to a third of the map, and then leave the rest for other things we can explore and find. So the rest of us can demarcate the borders, and so we can draw maybe draw rectangles to represent fields or wide trapezoidal shape to represent a human village. And the borders aren't an exhaustive inventory of the occupation, but just a starting point for understanding its impact. So, Rock, do you want to draw something that to demarcate a border?
Yeah. So, let's see here. I'm guessing roughly about a farm plot of land.
Cool. Cool. And I think I'm actually going to draw that watchtower that you mentioned. That sounds good. I'm going to put it like up here. Or will I put it down here? I don't know.
Where it goes, nobody knows.
Not even the people in it. I'm going to draw like a little thing there.
Looks like green crayon.
Yeah, sort of stairs going down type deal.
I see it. I totally believe that's a watchtower.
Yeah. It's only going to get worse the more I draw it. Try to make it more watchtowery.
I was going to say, that's why I chose to keep mine deliberately simple.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no worries. No worries there. Are we happy with it being about in the middle here, or do we want to move it to one side, or do we like it right there? Everything.
I think having it in the middle is fine.
Cool. All right. Now, at this point, each of us should introduce one monster and tell us briefly about its nest or dwelling. When we introduce our monster and its home, we then sketch our contribution onto the map. These sketches should be rough and simple, leaving lots of blank space for additions during play. We each introduce one monster this way, but it's understood that there are additional monsters in our community, perhaps a half dozen, that are as yet unnamed. And so we basically can figure out where we want to put our monsters and stuff. Who would like to add a monster to the map?
I can. I don't know why I choose these really complex things to draw, but I'm going to go with a breeding pair of griffins, which is a griffin and a keithong is the technical name for a female. So I'm going to just draw a rough griffin head to make my life a little bit easier.
Sure. Are they in like some kind of, are there like cliffs or something nearby? Do they live up high?
I think probably, or there's like a big tree that they have their nest in. Because they're like bird, lion things is the best way to describe them.
That's cool. Yeah. Birds make nests in trees. Cats like climbing trees. I can see it.
Oh, no. No. I was doing so good until the very end. We'll save it. Apparently they're also green in color because I didn't change it. Which, that looks vaguely bird-like-ish.
Yeah, that's cool.
I saved it.
Rock, do you have a monster you want to put on the map?
Yeah. I've been thinking about this one. It's a little difficult. We're gonna go with near. I'm gonna say near the barn is a werefox.
Ooh, interesting.
you know, were foxes are not usually the animals that people go with to have as a were creature, but
No, I like it though. That's interesting.
it is interesting.
Oh. How do you undo with the drawing tool?
I've done it with Control Z. You can also, if need be, you can kind of zoom in and just go back to the arrow and highlight it and delete if you'd rather do that.
Whoa. Yeah, I've never really used Roll20's drawing tool, so.
Oh, no worries. First time
All
for
right.
everything.
So select. Let's try that again. There we go. That works.
Oh, nice. I like it. I like it. Okay. I've been trying to decide what kind of monster I want to throw in here. Yeah. Okay, I think I'm gonna go with a bunch of centaurs. Who have a kind of who have a settlement up here, up in the upper right-hand corner, and this is going to look totally like a centaur.
The resemblance is uncanny.
It is, isn't it?
Are they doctors?
No, they only play them on TV.
So they're not a centaurs for disease control.
Oh.
Well, that's the stream, folks. Take care.
Well, I was enjoying playing this game.
Yeah. And then it ended.
Me and my griffins will go elsewhere.
I'm going to take a contempt token. No.
IRL contempt token.
Yeah. Just for that, I'm giving them spears. There we go.
Ah.
All right. Bunch of centaurs living in a holler or what have you. Okay. We each have a monster. Next, we declare an important remnant left behind by the humans, something which we might have either adopted or as our own or declared taboo after the occupation. Some examples are aqueducts and canals, a dark orb of farsight, a human memorial, domesticated animals, crops and fields, those kinds of things. Identifying a human remnant makes it both alien and important. If you pick alloy metals, you're indicating that monsters didn't have access to that technology before the occupation, and that there might be some usefulness for that remnant now. As a group, we now choose one of those remnants to be an adoption, and then we choose, I think, the others to be taboos. So, but let's first just decide what the remnants are before we decide whether we, what we want to do with them.
What about, like, masonry or woodworking? If the barn was left behind, it probably has both. Or it could have both, or one or the other.
Masonry. I like the idea of, This is the problem with my having introduced a monster that has opposable thumbs. But, Yeah, there's going to be like a type. So, like for example, I think that the centaurs might, build shelters, that kind of thing. So it's,
I mean,
but
that's
yeah,
fair. I was thinking that like crude, you could
Yeah.
make a lean-to without it having masonry or actual
Yeah,
woodworking was kind of my thought. But
yeah, well, no, that's what I'm trying to just.
Well, so did you do you mean like masonry and carpentry tools, or actual like masonry, like a brick wall or something?
I was thinking the actual physical product of masonry or wood, or carpentry.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
I suppose there could also be tools in the barn. That's an angle we could take.
Tools, that would be interesting. So, well, yeah, I like the idea. Yeah, I like the idea of making it of masonry. If we want to go with that, would that be? Do you want to go with that?
Is that our adoption or a taboo, or we're
We
just
don't-
putting it on the list?
We don't know yet. We're
Okay.
just it's a remnant right now, and we'll decide.
Okay. I like having that as a remnant.
Okay. Masonry. Now, Rock, do you have an idea for one?
Yeah, I'm gonna say the fields, the farmland area.
Ooh.
The fact that it's all tilled and everything. I mean, I'm sure that in their haste, it's a lot of it
Agriculture.
was probably either trampled or burned or anything.
Yeah.
So,
Agriculture. So farms.
yeah, agriculture is or
Agriculture.
fields, crops, whatever.
Crops.
Yeah.
Crops. It's an interesting idea. Okay. Yeah, because all the monsters thus far have been hunter-gatherers. I like that. Let's see. What did the humans leave behind? That is a remnant. Dimensional engineering. No. Let's see. Robots.
Transportation or teleportation circles.
Yes, that's it. I have to
Where
get the
we-
silly ones out of my head before I
Where we
actually
end up,
come up with
nobody
them.
knows.
Nope. No way. No way to
Phone
do
booth
it.
in the middle of a farm.
They have a dark orb of farsight on the list of examples.
That is true. That is
Teleportation circles seem to fall under their suggestions.
true. That's a
That could have been
thought.
how they left.
That might be.
Although I do kind of like the idea of like aqueducts and canals because they probably
Yeah.
had irrigation of some sort.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
But it's up to you. I'm just throwing that
Oh
out.
yeah, no, it's great. I'm just kind of like bopping these things through my head, and trying to decide how weird I want to go with it. Yeah. Do I want to? Ooh.
Oh no. When Jim makes that noise, it makes me nervous.
Do I want to be really weird? Do I want to be terrible and say religion?
Left behind like some kind of church or religious structure.
Maybe.
Maybe that's what goes on in the barn.
Yeah.
Just because it's on the list doesn't mean it gets adopted.
That's true.
Yeah.
Actually, I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what. I think I've narrowed it down to something that's slightly fantastical, but is not. Weather magic.
Interesting. Now I don't know what I want.
Weather-based magic. So it's not like overt necessarily, but it's like they had the ability to to a certain extent, control the weather or help direct it. I don't think it would be full weather control per se, but it would probably be like things they could do to mess with it.
Have you ever heard of a weather rock or a weather stone?
I have not.
It's from early ages, like colonial period. It was a thing. It was an actual thing that they would do, where it was like, imagine, you know how you have the stick tripod that they do for like campfires and stuff.
Yeah.
This would have a stone hanging from the center, like a large rock hanging from the center, and it was the thing where it was like, you know, if it was iced over, that, you know, then it was cold in wintertime type thing. If it was swaying back and forth, it was windy. If it was wet, it was rain. I mean, stupid simple.
Yeah.
For being able to tell the weather. But what if that was how they did your weather magic? Was they had a stone and they would go out and they would do like a small ritual for it. The stone would turn into, you know, whatever, and then that would, you know, like within a couple of days they would get whatever weather it was that they were looking for.
That is awesome. I love that.
I really want to adopt that out of all of them.
See, I'm kind of feeling like it should be taboo. How dare you try to control nature?
But griffins have trouble flying in the snow. Why? Because I said so.
Oh, that's great. Ah. Let's see. So, masonry, crops, weatherman. Yeah, Rock. What do you think?
For adoption?
Yeah.
That's a tough call. I mean,
They're all good.
yeah, these are all really good. I mean, like masonry could be good for having built like an initial shelter, or, you know, crops would be good because, I mean, yeah, they're hunter gatherers, but if they had learned how to do some farming. On the other hand, they could also, I mean, crops could be viewed as unnatural and
Yeah.
human magic kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, and then the weather magic goes either way. Yeah. So, I think my vote is going to be for masonry. Just simply because, you know, I mean, if we decide to go with masonry tools, then we could build things. If we just go for like a masonry structure, like a, you know, say like there was a long brick wall or something, then we could have built a lean-to against it or something, and that could have been, you know, like when something happens, we get caught out in the weather or something, you could run to that real quick. So I think masonry is going to be my adoption, or at least my vote.
So we have one for masonry, one for weather magic, and I was leaning the direction of crops. So
well, that's not helpful.
I know. Maybe we should decide randomly which one of these.
They're all good. They all would have their uses.
Would we be okay to like just roll like a D3 or something to make a choice on that?
Yup.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's cool.
Let me see. So I'm going to go ahead and roll 1d3, and 1 is masonry, 2 is crops, 3 is weather magic, and that'll be the adoption. Good. All right. 1, masonry.
Okay, I guess I have to draw something now. I'm going to say there is a masonry wall that's out by...
The way that this works is that the person...
Yeah,
the person who suggested is I guess there's another whoever called it. Oh, okay, yeah, whoever called masonry,
which was me. Unless
didn't you call weather magic?
but I was the one that chose that as a remnant.
You're the one
was
that chose
how
it as
I
a
read
remnant.
it, but
You're right. Okay. Yeah.
but I could be wrong.
No. Let's do it that way. Because I think that's right.
I mean, it doesn't.
Yeah.
We're a group of adults. We can. If someone else has an idea, I'm open to suggestions.
I don't want to adult. No, sure. No. Actually, no. It's that works. That I think that actually is how it's supposed to be.
It seems kind of like vague.
Yeah. So go ahead.
Vaguely written. I can't draw a straight line like this. I don't know why I insist upon not using the rectangle tool. It's more fun this way. So I think there's a masonry wall out by the watchtower.
Okay, cool. And the other remnants get listed as taboos, and the players who called them draw something on the map to represent the community's fear and distrust of those resources. Remember that symbols and symbolic representations are fine, but words should be avoided. So, Rock, do you want to draw something representing their distrust of crops?
Yeah. Sure. So. And we'll just draw some lines here to represent crops.
Yeah. And I think I'm going to draw the... yeah, I know what I'm going to draw. So I'm going to draw one of those... one of those things you were talking about, the kind of the tripod thingy. With the rock dangling at the center. And then I'm going to knock it over on its side. And that's going to be their distrust of weather magic. Very cool, very cool. So, now we have rules, apparently. So we have 1 week. Each card is a week. And during each week, the active player draws a card, reads the text aloud, resolves it, then follow all bold text. Project dice are reduced by 1 if we have any out, and the active player, which we won't have any yet, but we're starting up. The active player chooses and takes an action. And basically, as kind of a sort of summarize here, as is stated on the summary here, the actions are uncover something old, agree on something, start a project. So basically, it's you draw a card and do the thing on the card, and then you get an action. That's pretty much the basic unit of play here. And then when we get to the actions, you have uncover something old, agree on something, or start a project. And then periodically throughout the game we can update the remnants. If a particular monster feels like they were not consulted in the decision-making process, they can take a piece of contempt. They can then spend it if they want to do something capricious. You don't have to have contempt available if you want to do something capricious, but it's just sort of representational of the trust in the community. Or if it's like someone else does something, it's like, oh, I'm really in support of that. That will rebuild trust. I will remove a contempt token. That kind of deal. Those are the basics. I think just for time, just in case, we might pull 2 or 3 cards out of each of these decks before we start in earnest, if you folks are okay with that. Just so we can be sure we're getting along at a certain pace.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Cool. Do you want me to start by way of demonstration, or would someone else like to start?
Doesn't matter. I can start. I've played games like For the Queen. This seems oddly like that.
Sure. Okay, so basically all you got to do then is this is the spring deck. You can go ahead and draw a card and put it on the somewhere here in our view, and we will start.
Oh no! I just drew a line through all of our beautiful work.
No, you didn't.
I should. What
See, it's
line?
gone.
I don't see a line.
There's no line there.
What was I talking about? Okay. So I think I'm gonna go with one of you begins to manifest new monstrous qualities. What are they? So griffins are technically like feathered. I mean, they're bird lions, but I like the idea of them growing spines as well. Kind of like porcupine quills. Like they can be shed in the event of danger, or even hedgehog quills. Well, no, hedgehogs don't really. I like the idea of them being porcupine quills. So if I have to...
Yeah, and then you draw something to represent that.
I guess I'll draw the body. But just the body. Not gonna go crazy with legs and stuff.
Yeah. Legs are just insane.
Well, they have wings too. This is more drawing than I am capable doing with a trackpad.
Oh, no worries. Cool. Okay, so that's the card, and we can pretty much discard these by, I think, just deleting the freaking things. And so now you get to take an action. You can uncover something old, you can agree on something, or you can start a project.
So I think I'm gonna uncover something old.
Okay.
And I like my idea, which was spurred by you, Jim, that there's a teleportation circle somewhere.
So yeah, you draw it on the
and
map.
I'm imagining like a baby griffin comes back and shows mom and dad griffin where this teleportation circle. At least that's the headcanon in my head.
Okay, sure, absolutely. Yeah, basically it's like it might represent a problem, offer an opportunity, or a bit of both. Draw it on the map. Drawings should be small and simple, smaller than an inch, finished within 30 seconds, it says. I think they should probably give us a little little leeway for trying to draw on a computer. But we can use this action to introduce unresolved issues and dilemmas, resurfacing the history of the community. It might even be something that's familiar to the community members, but surprising to us as players. When individual monsters get introduced through this action, we'll give them names and record those names on our index card.
I'm going to actually use the tools that are, given to me to draw this time. Except for still extremely difficult to do it. Yep, we're gonna just leave it the way it is. I intended to do that.
It's like sort of an abstraction, really. They it's not only a teleportation circle, it's art. It's abstract art. Yeah, so we could say, so you want to say that out in the forest they were drawing a series of teleportation circles?
I think it's like etched into like rocks somewhere in the forest.
Cool. It's funny because this is actually starting to remind me of a fantasy campaign I started running years ago, where one of the things they discovered is that there were all these old circles left by nature wizards or what have you that they could use to teleport to different parts of the forest. So that's cool. All right, so that's your turn. And it's going to go down to Rock. So you can feel free to draw a card and throw it on the map here.
All right.
Or pull out a
We're
card.
well on the ways for the making of a BBC sci-fi series. Oh,
So BBC, if
If
you're
you
watching,
click and-
pay close
if-
attention.
If you click and drag it, you should be able to. There you go.
there we go. All right. What cultural practice or ritual unifies your community? Or there is a monster who did not join with you in driving off the humans. Where are they on the map? What makes them different? That's kind of a tough one. Those are both good. Just trying to think of a cultural thing.
You can always roll a d2. Let fate decide for you.
I think what it is we have a we have a practice where each week we come together once a week for kind of like a meal, like in the barn, I'm gonna say. We come together for a meal in the barn, and we go ahead and talk about whatever it is that we did during the week, and see if maybe there's anything that anybody wants to like trade, but it's always like something that is not of value. It's not like you trade a tool or a resource or anything. You're always kind of trading something that's maybe sentimental value at most. And it's just that kind of that exchange. Maybe there's like one thing in particular that kind of gets passed around. So like one week one person has it, the next week somebody else has it.
I like that.
Sorry, I'm just creating a discard pile over down here on top of where our names are because I realized we won't need those.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's what it is. It's a communal meal, and there's a maybe 2 or 3 items that we continuously pass around each week to like the next person kind of thing.
Cool.
Jim, did you shuffle these? Because I had the ace and rock had 2.
No, they're shuffled.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure because that seemed odd to me. That was all.
It's gonna look. Yeah, it's. I'm cheating and I'm looking at them right now,
Okay.
and they are actually strangely enough seem to be in some sort of. I can reshuffle them real quick. The ones.
No,
that are still there.
I wanted it to be at random come winter.
Oh yeah, no, that's
where we
totally
literally
yeah.
could pick one card and have it be the end
that's-
of the game.
That's the deal, man. That's the deal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So Rock, go ahead and draw something representing that ritual on the map.
Yeah. My drawing skills. Okay. I think what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna draw a table here representing where we have the meal
Cool.
with a bench. Yeah.
Nice.
All right.
Awesome.
And then for the action, I'm gonna say start a project. and I think what the project is trying to um, trying to cover up the farmland,
Ooh, okay,
at
cool.
least part of it, because
That's good.
it's like right now it's all tilled and everything, and it's viewed as like cliche term cursed earth. So by covering it up, they hope to kind of remove the human taint.
So yeah, no, that works. So how many weeks do you think that project's going to take?
That one, I'm going to say it's probably going to take at least 3 or 4 weeks. Because I mean, if you figure, large farms or something, and they're having to go ahead and move soil and kind of turn it over and everything. So it's every day. I don't know, maybe like 3 weeks, 4 weeks.
I think 3 weeks sounds good to me.
Okay.
So, so what you want to do is draw something representing that project on the map, and
Yeah.
then take one of the dice and set it to 3, and put it over that place.
Okay. So freehand. Let's look for a dark green here. There we go. All right, and we're just gonna. We'll say they managed to get. Well, they're gonna try and cover the whole thing. So.
Yeah, but you can just do it like as a small thing where they're starting the project, and then you can draw in the results of that project at the end of it. Okay, cool. So grab one of these dice and put it near there, and just set it to 3. There we go. Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so now it goes back to me, and I shall draw a card. I have drawn the Jack of Spring. We have, it is unusual that monsters form communities, agree on something about why this community exists, or monsters have always lived in communities, agree on something about the nature of monster communities. So I think I'm going to say that monsters have always lived in communities. And we're going to do agree on something about the nature of monster communities. And the way agreeing on something works is kind of like having a conversation in the quiet era, except it's a little more, even more reserved. You open with a statement about a problem or an issue in the community. Going clockwise, everyone else then gets to weigh in once, sharing their agreement with your statement or describing what their silence looks like. Remember to indicate which monster is speaking or not speaking. Agreeing on something never results in a concrete decision. Everyone weighs in or stays silent, and then it's over. This is how conversations work in communities. There is much left unsaid to preserve the peace. Each agreement should be tied to a situation on the map. When an agreement ends, mark the situation it is attached to with a small dot. As an example, a community might agree on how to punish the ball of light for failing to warn the community about problems at the wizard's tower, etc. It's okay. It just gives an example. We know what this is. So I'm going to start with the statement. The difference here is that between in the quiet year you get to ask a question, and then if it comes back around to you, you get to give your own view. But this is just you give your view. That's it. So well, you give your view, and then the next person, if they agree, they give their view. If not, they say what their monster is doing to express their silence. And so I think I think in conversation, the centaurs are saying that one of the centaur leaders is saying that it is always important to form any community is about protecting its future generations and wants to and must form a protective barrier against outside forces, and that's kind of what I think these centaurs think. And then we get to you two get to also weigh in.
I'm thinking. So I think what you see the griffins do, because they can't really they don't have language in a normal language sense. I think what you see the griffins do, at least Mama and Daddy Griffin, is they kind of go down downward dog almost is the best way to explain it, where they're almost bowing to the idea that the centaurs have brought up. They understand language, they just don't communicate with language.
Yeah. Cool.
And maybe the quills kind of lay more flat, very not aggressive in their appearance towards the idea.
Yeah.
I think you just see the werefox just kind of looks over and just kind of shrugs.
That works.
It's very kind of non-committal.
Yeah. Okay, so I think I'm going. I think I'm going to uncover something old. Yeah. All right. The centaurs are exploring, and they're going to find Why do we do this to ourselves? I don't know. You're going to find on the edge of our territory here. A deep pit. Almost like a chasm. That's full of darkness. Goes down how far they cannot say.
Ooh, interesting.
Deep into the earth. And that's my turn.
Fuck yeah. So the questions are, how is status earned and defended in this community? Is there a clear hierarchy among monsters here? Or, beyond spoken words, how do monsters here communicate? Those are both good questions. Um. Well, I think we kind of touched on beyond spoken words. I think I don't know that there's like a clear hierarchy amongst the groups of like the centaurs are in charge, and then the were foxes and the griffins are subservient to them. I don't think that that's how it goes. I think there are potentially like individuals who have earned some status within like their own animal community, or if it's a solitary werefox, then it's almost like they do a lot by committee, as opposed to like there being a like I'm alpha, you listen to me now, kind of thing. How is status earned and defended? I think it's much more of a like animal type thing, like, you know, maybe you're not out to kill the person who has the authority, but you show that you're more worthy of the authority in a physical fight of some sort. Oh, now I have to do the second part of all of this, don't I?
Don't mind these arrows I'm drawing. I just realized I forgot to draw my the conversation we had. So.
Oh. Did we tick down the project dice from your turn, Jim?
Oh, we did not. We did not. We need to do that. Let me go ahead and do that. There we go. So that goes to 2, and now it goes to 1.
Yep. I would like to start a project, I think. In my project is actually going to be trying to figure out the teleportation circle.
Ooh.
Because at the end of the day, the griffins can fly. And assuming they don't end up on a different plane or like many, many days away, which I'm thinking there are other circles in the forest because I kind of like that idea. They theoretically should come back eventually. But
well,
like
one can hope.
I think they're trying to like map out so that they can kind of draw like a crude map with like crushed up berries on a claw on like a piece of wood or something as to where they all go.
Nice.
So I'm open to suggestions for how long it'll take. Drag that out over by my teleportation circle.
Depends on how wide the network is, I guess, if it's a network of them. This is just basically they're mapping them out. They're using and mapping. Are they trying to figure out how to use the teleportation circles first?
I suppose that's the first project. Would probably be how to use them.
Yeah, I think the usage is not going to take quite as long as mapping. So I was thinking maybe does 2 weeks sound reasonable, or do we think it's beyond their ken? Muted, right?
Depending on how much time they put into it every day, you figure probably a week or 2 to activate it, and end up getting it to go somewhere. I mean, I don't know. I mean, how do magic circles work? Is this like a Stargate kind of thing? You activate a couple of the little points to it, and then it opens up.
I was imagining like a Stargate or like hitting a certain shape in sequence kind of a thing.
Right.
Yeah, I need to go look up teleportation for dummies and see how we do that. Yeah, I'd say if it's like that, I'd say like 2 weeks sounds good to me.
Okay.
I'm just gonna set that at 2, and go ahead and draw something to represent that that's being worked on, like Maybe put someone a picture of someone out there or something, or
You're asking a lot of me.
or just like a check mark.
I don't want to do it the easy way. The fact that I used the shape tool at all for that is a step in the right direction. But let's not go crazy here. Put that in a really bad spot for I'm going to color in some of these shapes.
Yeah.
Because I imagine they do some sort of magic bullshit light up when you've like clicked them in the correct order.
Yeah, sure.
Or
nice, cool. Oh, also, there was the. Is there a way to draw what we sort of talked about how status is earned and defended in the community?
Sure, there probably is. Let me work on that while we go to the next person.
Sure, absolutely. So, Rock, did you want to grab a card?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and... come on. There we go. Let's see. How varied are the diets within the community? Which monster has the most unsettling or untenable diet? Or what materials are needed to upkeep and maintain the layers within the community? Are any of those materials difficult or hard to find?
I'm just going to put this here real quick just so folks can see it in the audience.
Yeah. I mean, the werefox hangs out in the barn, so really the only thing that he would need for maintaining the their area is wood. What do the centaurs use? Do they have like a...
You get to say.
Okay.
I can give ideas if you want them, but it's
yeah, I mean,
answer.
how would you imagine the centaurs? I mean, like, do they hang out in a cave? Do they have a stable somewhere? Or?
I think they have they build. I think they have things that are like huts to a certain extent when they need to build them, but they also have caves.
Okay. Do they put down straw for mats?
I think sometimes they'll make leaf beds, straw beds, things of that nature. They'll grab what they can. Depends. It's all seasonal.
Right.
So it's just they have to make sure they're out hunting for the materials.
Right. What about the griffins? Do they have a nest? Or
yeah, it would be more of like a bird nest. They might pluck their own down to kind of line it, but nothing extravagant. Although I guess they could kind of be like ravens and or crows and weave shiny things into it. But yeah. I don't know that that's necessary to have a nest.
Right. Well, it's just what I was thinking is I'm thinking that So I mean, like obviously the barn probably would have had quite a bit of hay in it, and so you know initially there would have been a supply of hay to distribute out for bedding material, but and also to use for to insulation of some sort, for like blankets or something. um but as time goes on, and as the hay is starts to rot and whatever, it starts to get a little scarce. And since the crops are being covered up, um then that would mean that the hay would start to become less available. And so the monsters would have to start, going out into the forest looking for, like naturally growing tall grass, or, collecting, large leaves or whatever. So I think that would be a thing, is having to go out and gather, essentially leaves and soft materials to use for bedding and insulation.
Hmm. Cool. So that's a good answer. If you want to, I don't know if there's a way to draw any of, any of
Just
that.
draw a
But
big
awesome.
leaf somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, your crop raising project is done this week as well.
So what that so what that means, basically, whenever you're ready, if you want to draw the leaf first or whatever, that's fine.
Yeah.
But when you're ready, your project is getting done, which means, since you're the one who started it, and this is finishing in the natural way, in other words, a card isn't directing someone to end the project, then the project is completed. Whoever started the project gets to tell everyone how it turns out and update the map to reflect its completion. So that'll be up to you to Rock to decide how that project ends.
Okay. All right. So I'm gonna say that it, the ground is completely covered. That is successfully completed. Um, but I'm gonna say it takes a little bit of time before you start seeing like natural grass poking through. So I think it causes us there's like a sense of apprehension that kind of goes through the community for at least a week or two, while everybody is just kind of waiting to see what happens.
Okay. So yeah, you can go ahead and draw something representing that. Where did that die go?
Let's see. Oh, I pulled the die off to the side.
Right, but is it still on the Roll20?
Yeah. It's over by where the other
Because there are 5 of
four
them
dice
down
were.
here, and there were 6.
Yeah, because there's one by my project.
Oh, there it is. Okay, cool. That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah, we're good. All right.
So
At least for another turn.
Yep.
all right. So I have to fill in the.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool. All right. And while you're doing that, I'll go ahead and take my turn, and then I think after my turn we'll go ahead and do a break if folks are good with that.
Sounds like a deal.
I will mention one thing actually. I just thought of. This to do with updating remnants. But well, actually no. We'll get to that in a moment. Actually, I'll go ahead and start taking my turn first because it's going to come into play.
Okay.
So,
Oh, do I still need to take an action on
oh, didn't you? Was that your? Oh, that was
the?
just your card. Was that just your card, or did you?
Yeah, that was the card, and then the project finished.
Oh yeah, that's right. I'm sorry. Yeah, you need to take an action. I'm going to
Okay.
hold this card off to the side until later.
Um.
There's one issue that I have with this game is it's really easy to forget where you are and what you're doing.
Yeah.
It's almost too simple in its simplicity.
Yeah.
Which seems weird to say out loud.
I think what's gonna happen is in reference to the previous statement as far as like needing to find leaves and stuff. I think that'll be a project to be started is creating a space in the barn where that stuff can be stored safely, like it, creating like a covered area.
Yeah, yeah.
So um I'm just
That's
gonna
cool.
go
So you use
ahead
the
and
barn to store bedding materials.
I'm just gonna go ahead and draw like a little box here.
Sure. About how long do you think that project's gonna take?
I mean, I think it's going to be the kind of thing that technically it would be ongoing, but I think, well, actually, no, creating a covered area, I'm going to say maybe about 2 weeks in order to make sure
Yeah.
that it's, like it's a big enough area and, checking it to make sure that there's, not like getting leaks or, water pooling up or anything. And so just kind of in general.
And we need somewhere where if we're gonna dry it, that it can dry without getting moldy and
Yeah. So I'm going to say setting up the entire area probably going to take about 2 weeks.
Cool. So yeah, go ahead and grab a die and set it to 2.
Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. Okay. Now it has come to my turn, I think.
Yep.
And I have the 7 of Spring. Let me move that to the front so we can read it. There's a large body of water on the map. Where is it? What does it look like? Or there's a place on the map that has been desecrated. Where is it? How might it be restored? I think I'm going to go for the body of water. Interesting though desecration might be. I think I will go with the body of water. I kind of want to do something. Well, let me pick out blue. Let's see. Okay, I think that down here. Let me make sure that I have this word right. Yeah. So I think that there is a ravine down here. That basically causes causes water from a river, from a stream to, it's from a river to flow in. And it becomes kind of a, it turns into kind of a pond. If that makes sense. Just draw the stream off the map there. Okay. So at this point, the portal project is completed. And we're also going to take down the other one. How does the portal project end?
So, I think they actually probably discover several different, like, button press combination, shape press combinations that dial the Stargate, the portal. But the first one that they're, like, adventurous enough to actually enter is going to be down by the pond. And I'm not going to be quite as elaborate on the second one.
Sure.
Right here.
Okay.
And now they get excited because they want to see all the other places they can go. But that's for future turns.
So is this becoming... Yeah, okay, no, I think... we need to watch and see if this is becoming an adoption or not. I don't know if it is yet because we're still sort of studying it. But this might become a new adoption, basically, from humanity, just sort of possibly humanity. We don't know that it was humans. That's the thing to think about. But these
it could be ancient aliens. Sorry.
It could be.
I'm making all the Stargate
I'm not saying
references.
that it's aliens. But it's aliens.
Oh, Jim.
I think that... I think that we're going to do a... I kind of want to do a project to explore this, to explore a couple of things. I have to decide which thing I want to explore first. I could just discover something old and have a thing happen if I wanted immediately. So yeah, I'm going to start a project now. I think that the Centaurs are going to get on this project to sort of explore this so many things. To explore the stream that goes off, just to sort of see if it is viable for setting up, if it's viable to fish from, to kind of set up something for the community where we can, make sure that we're getting enough food, that kind of deal, to turn it into something ongoing. But right now we're just trying to see if we want to, how we want to do that. What it is fish-wise, basically. Now is the time for the fishing because it's spring. We need to figure out if there are salmon or anything else in there. I figure I don't think that's going to take too long.
Probably a week or two.
Yeah, I'm feeling it's going to be maybe just like a week. Possibly two. If they want to, I guess if they want to like search the whole range of this spring, then maybe it'll be 2 weeks. They want to be thorough about it. You guys feeling that?
Yeah.
All right.
Because they could also just not just simply whether or not it has fish, but like how many different kinds of fish and
yeah.
whether or not any of them are actually edible or poisonous.
Yeah, that's very true. So I'm gonna quickly just sort of draw a centaur, just sort of scouting out here.
Your awesome rendition of a centaur.
Yes, absolutely. Just kind of trawling the water for fish and just sort of trying to figure out what's happening there with a net made of magical pink beams of light. No, anyway, no, just a regular net. Even it's probably not even a net. It's probably just like, you know.
I thought they were gonna fish with their spears.
Yeah, probably they're gonna fish with their spears. That's more likely. I started drawing it and then I was like, wait a minute. Spearfishing is much more likely for them. So it'll be like that. There we go. Okay, 2-week project. And I think that's actually where we're going to go ahead and take a break. I actually have not had, unfortunately, I have not had time to slot in an interview. So, but no one panic. There's a lovely forest scene back there. We'll be back in a few minutes. We will see you shortly. we have returned. And now we are up to Theater Nerd's turn. We're getting closer to the end of spring. And we'll see kind of how this goes.
Someone discovers a trove of ritual items hidden from the humans. What are they? Add them to the map. Or an old language resurfaces among you. You have not heard it for ages. Why was it silenced? Why has it returned? So I don't know. I don't know what I want to do.
And now this is where we break out a subgame of dialect.
I think I'm going to go with someone discovers a trove of ritual items. And I think it's in a cave. Which I will draw somewhere. And I think they're tablets with what is essentially hieroglyphs. But the technology depicted in them is like way beyond anything the humans had or we've seen since the humans.
Cool. Awesome. And whilst you were drawing that, one of the projects has completed. I think, is that Rock's project in the barn?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Rock, how does that project end?
I'm gonna say it works out. It takes them a little bit of time. It takes them the time, but they're able to get it where there's there's like a couple of shelves where the materials are initially laid out and allowed to dry, and then there's a kind of like a box, like a large kind of. It's actually almost. It's like a really deep tray because I don't think it actually has like a lid on it in order to make it a full box necessarily. Like there's a covering a little bit higher up that keeps rainwater off of it, but it's not actually like locked and closed or anything. It's open topped, and that's just so that as somebody needs, they can go in. They can go ahead and they can take. It's not like they have to go and get somebody. It's not like they have to, have a key or anything to it. It's kind of, free access since it's for the community.
Very cool. Awesome.
I'm also gonna find something old.
Okay.
I think also either on one of those tablets or on the wall there's or I think it'll be cave paintings, is like the shape of our teleportation circles. Yes, you're laughing. I'm going with this. I'm running with this idea. Yes, we're making Stargate Atlantis in our game, with like patterns of shapes that maybe need to be investigated further.
I mean, it's we could say you're running with it, or we could say MGM is continuing to run with it. We're not sure.
This is we'll pitch this idea to MGM. Just wait.
Yeah.
I'm heavily inspired by MGM. How about that?
Legally distinct, not Stargate.
Yeah, and actually, I'm thinking more that actually it was the movie that was MGM, which is more just sort of where my brain goes with these, because I saw it in the theater. Well, it was also MGM Television, apparently. Okay, but then it became Sony.
Please don't sue us. Either way. This is a fan creation, heavily inspired by...
Okay, so the basically discover something old is you're discovering just additional stuff inside the cave, basically?
Yes.
All right, cool. All right, so that puts it down to Rock's turn.
Cool.
I guess just draw whatever you need to represent the stuff in the cave.
Okay. Some of the monsters here have traveled a great distance to join the community. What drew them here? Or all of the monsters here have lived in this region for centuries. What originally drew them to this area? I'm going to go with some of the monsters here have traveled a great distance to join the community. And I'm going to say that what drew them here is this is one of the few areas that humanity has occupied and then been driven off of. So it's kind of like this is a point of inspiration. So, let's see here. Was there anything about... I don't have to draw anything on this one for this, right?
Not specific. I mean, it's neat if you can. We try to always if we can, but if you can come up with something cool. But yeah, this one's kind of very abstract.
Well, I guess. Yeah, I mean, I think I can. We'll say somewhere like the same general direction that we go for looking for leaves is like an actual opening, like a path. Cool. There's like a clear area that kind of starts to lead in deeper into the forest.
Nice. Okay.
So, all right, and then so Project Dice would tick down, which means the centaurs.
Yes. So now I must
figure
make
out
a decision. Yeah. So I think that this project ends with they are in fact able to figure out where the salmon are, which is really what you want to go for, if at all possible, when you are fishing, because they have the most predictable cycles. And so we now have basically have a decent knowledge of where the fish are and what they are doing.
A cute fish.
And we can now sort of more reliably bring in fish for the community.
Okay. I think I'm gonna start a project, and think what I'm going to go with is the centaurs had mentioned probably needing to have some kind of training in defense, or you know, some kind of defensible skills. So I think what we'll do is we'll just kind of start like a small training ground,
Cool.
just like some man dummies
Mm.
to you know, to practice against.
So those pesky humans.
Yeah,
I would like to think that the griffins also use them to like try to pick up the dummy
Yeah.
Right.
from flying. It's like communal training ground.
That's so
Yeah.
cool.
So, so let's say maybe this takes like probably I'm gonna say like maybe 3 weeks for it to go through, because that way, you know, it's time to gather to gather straw and hay and stuff that isn't part of the bedding material,
Yeah.
and then, you know, fashion them and everything, and then, you know, create like you know, like stick weapons for training.
That's cool. No, I like that. I like that a lot.
So this will be the since this is the centaur's idea for this, we'll yeah, we'll put it closer to them. This will be training training our centaurians for defense.
And contempt. Anyway. Excuse me for a moment. I have to stab myself. Okay. So back over to me. And I shall draw a card. The 5th of Spring. 2 or more of the monsters who live here decide to commit themselves to each other who performs the rituals for the union, or a younger monster is brought to adulthood through an ancient ceremony. Who performs the rites required for this transition? Interesting. Yeah, for some reason I'm still thinking in terms of the centaurs. I mean, it could be it could be anyone. It could be anyone. Adulthood. I'm going to go with a younger monster being brought to adulthood. And, So, I have a strange idea. I think that, so, now I gotta open up I gotta open up fantasy name generators. Oddly enough, they do have a list of centaur names.
They have generators for just about everything
They
on that
do.
website.
It's glorious. I actually have this strange idea that, I mean, it's I'm starting to think in terms of, like, you know, just some sort of like coming of age hunting thing for the centaurs, but then this other idea is starting to break into my skull, and I should probably express it because it's a weird thing. I'm wondering what if the griffins have kind of a
like coming of age ritual.
Yeah, well, they have this sort of thing. For some reason, that there's like a I'm imagining that the Griffins have this sort of thing where there's like, because it's a ceremony, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have this idea that there is this forest gnome somewhere who's been around for eons that like administers these transitional age rituals through sort of a ceremony. I don't know why I'm imagining this, because it's like a completely different species from everyone else. But we're said to imagine that there are at least like half a dozen other monsters around, and that it's maybe like just this kind of odd sort of nature ceremony, bonding to nature type ceremony type deal. If that makes sense.
Your go.
Perhaps. I don't know what makes sense anymore.
We've gone in many different directions.
This is true. Well, which is kind of the purpose of this game.
You threw a lot of stuff at the wall.
Yes. So I think I'm going to do that. And yeah, that basically these people coming to adulthood type deal thingy. I'm just picturing, and I can't draw it terribly well. This also probably looks considerably taller than.
You can always shrink it.
That's true. I'm just sort of imagining this. Just sort of imagining this gnome-like creature, just like standing on a rock. So this is a kind of magical creature who administers these ceremonies.
If you're going with the tiny sized gnomes, I imagine that it almost has to stand on a rock in order to like even be even remotely head height on the full grown griffins.
Yeah. So it's something kind of like that. And projects tick down by 1. And then a decision must be made. A terrible, terrible decision.
Oh no.
So this is when so I'm going to discover something old now.
Mm-hmm.
This is when Jim truly begins going off the rails. Well, no, not yet. We're getting there. So I think this is about when we're going to start to see we're going to start to see this kind of Nessie-ish creature in the pond. It's kind of a Loch Ness monster type deal. It has woken up. And it is very curious about everything that is going on now. And just kind of discovered as some of the folks are out fishing, and they're like, "Oh crap!" Because it wants to know who's taking its fish. I think that's part of the problem. And I think that's my turn.
Oh, that means it's my turn, isn't it? Doesn't
Yes.
it? Sorry. One of you is still recovering from serious wounds inflicted by the humans who, or two of the community members' smallest members, get into a fight. Who provoked them are either seriously hurt. So I'm imagining, I'm going to do the second one.
Okay.
And I'm imagining it's like a child centaur and the child griffin. Or maybe it's more than one pair of griffins.
Okay.
Because we just had an adulthood ritual happen. And I don't really want anyone to be hurt. I think it started out as like trying to teach each other how to fight, and it just like escalated very quickly, and neither of them realized it. Like I'm imagining a young griffin doing a flyby on a centaur, and
they're the training
and then it
grounds
just
or something.
escalates. Yeah, it just escalates from there. So I'm gonna draw, or attempt to draw, a feather and a spear by the training grounds, methinks.
Okay.
Because I like to imagine that the centaurs give their children's, maybe not like sharp spears, but at least training spears. Why are you not clicking the freehand tool or letting me click off of it? Oh. You know what? That kind of looks like a spear. Close enough.
Cool.
That
Excellent.
kind of looks feather-shaped. Close enough.
Yeah.
I can't draw. Can't draw with a trackpad. Who am I kidding? Who didn't think this all the way through? Me.
Go ahead and take that project down one more. I actually should probably... If we think up names for things, we should probably start putting them over here, but we haven't really done that yet.
Well, it's weird because we haven't established that any of these creatures actually have language as a thing they
fair.
can do. I think we should agree on something. And I think that the Griffins don't believe we should dry fish for like the winter. They like fresh caught. Or that's their preference.
The werefox disagrees.
So in what way does the werefox show their silence?
Well, I think he just
This is the weird part about this, about the agreeing on something, is that you actually can't disagree. You can only express
discontentment.
Yeah, you can show how they are silent about it.
Yeah. I think the werefox finds like a small area and starts just kind of like stacking up some fish that haven't been eaten yet.
Ooh.
And just like starts creating like a small stockpile.
Yeah, I think that what do the centaurs think? Not to dry fish for the winter. I mean, so the centaurs, a couple of centaurs will agree, but the way they'll agree is basically by saying, well, no one's. I don't think anyone's going to be able to. Is going to want to try to stockpile enough fish for that with that beast in the lake. And yeah, that's the conversation. I'll go ahead and put a little.
Just hear a loud screech from our griffin friends. Which also sounds oddly like a raptor screech. I have to draw this somewhere, don't I?
No, actually, the funny part is with agreeing on something, we just put a little dot by whatever it was we talked about. So only if we, you can if you like.
I don't know. All I was gonna do was draw a fish and put an X through it. So
yeah, I mean, we can.
I'm gonna just save the effort for something that actually has to be drawn.
But yeah, anything we have a discussion about, we can put a little dot next to it, and if it's a discussion about something that's not on the map already, then we need to draw it. But
okay.
And of course, yeah, you're always welcome to draw more stuff if you want.
No.
You sure?
Anyway, that's my turn.
Okay.
Rock, you're still muted.
Well, I wasn't saying anything. I was drawing a card.
Okay,
so.
I just wanted to tell you preemptively before you started saying things.
Oh, I gotcha. Cool, thanks. Let's see. You see a good omen. What is it? Or you see a bad omen. What is it? I'm gonna go with a good omen. This is so weird. I've been like trying to be the positive one the entire game. It's not normally my gig. usually I go with whatever is interesting. But I'm going to say a good omen, and what it is the field that had been covered over, and we've been kind of waiting to see whether or not anything would grow there. I want to say like the grass started growing back, but in random spots, some of the wheat or the hay stuff, not really much of the other stuff, but some of the wheat stuff kind of sprouted up in small clusters, and so it's kind of like we know that it'll make it a little bit easier to gather some of the materials that we'll need for like the bedding and stuff.
Interesting.
So, yeah. Okay, so there's that. The project for the training dummies clicks down, so all of those are set up.
Nice. Yeah, what becomes of them? Are they...
They're standing up. They're I'm gonna say that they look reasonably close to humans, and when they work out really well for training, and as the monsters, as we all take turns going through the area, we're able to do the training, and because it's kind of like off to the side, we don't really have, it's not like too many people get hurt or anything like that, or like we don't have to worry about too many injuries as we're learning how to defend our community.
Awesome.
So okay, so been doing a lot of projects.
Oh, one can never have enough projects.
Yeah, trust me, I know. Too many projects? What? Too many? No.
No way.
All right, I think I want to go with uncover something old.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what it is in the barn. Since it was a communal place for the humans, it makes sense that they would keep certain community things there. And I think what happens is there's kind of like this old chest somewhere in the back that kind of had been ignored because it had been like covered with stuff, and when we open it up, there's we find maps of like human lands. And the only way that we know that the only reason why we think that they're human lands is because when you take a look at the maps, they don't look like drawings of anywhere nearby. there's like maybe one that looks like the surrounding area, but it's the only one that's recognizable.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and I think it's, it's the kind of thing that, like, it's discovered, and there's a lot of buzz about it because, it's like, oh, this must be, this must be all the territory that the humans have conquered, and um you know maybe some of those monsters that had been drawn to our community might recognize one or two of the maps and say, yeah, this is, pass through here, or this is where I'm from. Kind of thing.
Yeah. Nice, nice. So that's your turn.
Yep.
And it is, we are now heading into summer, finally. So let me go ahead and show that deck. And I'm going to briefly just adjust for time some things. I'm going to go ahead and pull out. There are a few cards I need to pull out. I actually have to pull out the Queen of Diamonds because it's a shorter game set up, and then I have to pull out like 4 cards for time. Go and shuffle and just randomly pull out 4 cards. Okay, and then I will actually draw a card. Okay, the 8 of Summer. In a moment of need, a charismatic monster reveals resources previously withheld. What problem do they resolve? Or, an unpopular monster is discovered to be withholding resources from the community. Are they punished? Interesting.
This is a very interesting question.
Yeah. Ooh.
What are you thinking?
Well, I gotta figure out kind of how I want to play this. How I want to do this. I'm actually thinking about introducing a new monster.
Ooh.
I know I'm doing that right and left lately, but I can't stop myself.
I mean, that's kind of the name of the game.
This is true. Do we know the names or not? Does anyone remember what those beasts are called that are essentially living heaps of leaves or grass or earth?
Elementals? Possessing entities?
It could be a thing like an elemental.
I'm gonna Google leaf monster.
Yeah, there's like a specific. I can't. It's like a leaf monster or a compost monster or something. There's like a term for it.
Apparently, that's actually a thing from a video game. Leaf monster.
Yeah, the only time that I've ever seen anything like that, it's usually either been associated as like an elemental or a poltergeist or a possessing entity.
I'm gonna just go ahead and call it an elemental for now. Even though I know there's another term for it. And I think it's like a thing that comes up in like the Dungeons and the Dragons, but also in other things. But so it's like a living pile of grass and leaves and kudzu, what have you. But I think this is something that, by its very nature, kind of to a certain extent, does what looks like hoarding. But it's not really. The part of the whole thing is it's made up of whatever's around it, so it's not necessarily doing that on purpose. It doesn't view possession in quite the same way as others do. It's wherever you're placing your essence.
It's all I have is a picture of Grimer in my head from Pokemon. Only it's sticky and it just collects things just by simply like scooting past them. That's
geez.
the image I have in my head. Sorry.
No problem. But I think
Amari Fall Edition.
But yeah, I wish I could better explain this. But yeah, basically, so it's like.
So because there's a cultural difference, do they get punished for having this cultural difference, basically?
That is the question.
That's fine.
That is the question.
It's adorable.
And I'm just trying to draw in things there. Anyway. I think that there is something of a punishment. Ooh. Oh. Because they don't want it to they want it to stay within certain boundaries. And they've adopted masonry. So I think they're going to they're deciding they're going to fence it in. In some way. I think that's something that is kind of. I think the centaurs probably do it, and I'm gonna start a project, a somewhat possibly controversial project, where we're going to start building some low walls in the area around this person. To try to keep them away from the resources. It's not going to be built to confine them. It's not going to be built all the way around them, but just to kind of wall them off. And I feel like that project's going to take like at least maybe 3 weeks. What do we think? 3 weeks? 4 weeks?
That sounds like a good time frame.
Yep.
You got like 3 weeks for the building of this wall. And it's funny, I was going to do other things with my turn, but there it is.
Never mind. I'm not gonna make leaf puns. Gonna leave that one alone.
You lied. You lied.
I couldn't help myself after I said I wasn't gonna. I'm sorry.
Liar.
The Jack of Summer. Someone sabotages a project and the project fails. As a result, who did this? Are they caught? Someone is caught trying to sabotage the efforts of the community. How does the community respond? Well, we only have one project going on right now.
You may feel free to tank it if you like.
I'm kind of tempted. I think I'm going to. I think the newly adult minted griffin feels bad for the creature. And I also think he's like an awkward teenager where he doesn't quite know his own strength. I think he crash lands into it and basically like scatters the rocks to the point where it's like not worth recollecting them. And I think it's pretty obvious. Like, you probably heard a screech as he realized he was out of control flying. So I'm gonna guess that he gets caught. Take that as you will.
Ooh. So first off, it did. If anyone wants, they could have taken contempt tokens for my starting up that project. I'm going to. The centaurs are going to take a contempt token for that having been done.
I think it makes sense for the griffins to take one based on.
Maybe a little smaller. There you go.
He was trying to do it in a controlled manner and failed miserably.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
So we'll remove the dice.
Yeah.
To the pile over there. And now I has to decide what to do.
Go ahead and draw like an X or something through the wall if you want.
Bad wall.
I have gone ahead and I've started putting names in for some of the characters I was coming up with, just for the sake of doing it. Because I know some of them they do sort of have languages. I know the centaurs kind of do, and the gnome probably does, and things like that. So it's like for the purpose of the narrative. I'm calling the forest gnome Thiel. I'm calling the pond creature Usetra, and I'm calling the heat monster Krydos.
I mean, in theory, they could just be the centaurs' names for everything else.
Yeah, it could be.
You're not calling the leaf creature
leaf
Root?
Creature? Oh.
No, that's taken.
I want to do something. I have to do something. I don't get a choice.
Yeah, you must do something.
I just don't know what to do. I usually try to think about this and have an idea on something. I got it. To make fishing safe in the pond lake thing with the creature, I think the griffins want to start a project on trying to push it out of the pond.
To push the to push the lake creature out of the pond.
Mm-hmm. Because they like fresh fish, and the creature is encroaching on their fresh fish.
Okay. I feel as though the lake creature is going to take.
That's fine.
It's not going to like that.
That's okay.
I'm gonna let you. I'm hold off and let you draw something there first before I
Oh.
Before I throw this in there.
I forgot I have to do that. I forgot that drawing's part of this game. Stupid. Kind of just want to draw like the start of an X through the monster, which I guess is a viable way of playing this, because I could also draw a circle, like no more monster. I'm gonna just draw 1/2 of an X through it until we see if I succeed or fail. How long does it take me to try and draw all over the map? Oh no, I succeeded at that.
So how long do you want this project to do you think this
I
project
think it
will
should
run?
probably be a couple weeks for sure, of like trying different tactics to flush out the monster.
Yeah.
But I will leave that ultimately up to y'all, or I'll take suggestions. I think 2 or 3 is probably reasonable.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, like, yeah. Seems reasonable.
Okay, we'll just leave it on 3 because I'm lazy.
Okay.
Okay. Next.
All right, so a young monster lashes out at the community. Who is it? Who does the community blame for their anger? Or a monster who lived before the occupation claims that the new community is immoral. Start a project that reflects their fundamentalist call.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Interesting.
Yeah. Um. Hmm. um. Give me a second here. I've got an idea.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say, yeah, why not? So there's a small small group of young kobolds, 3 of them. What's a group of? Is that
Clutch.
a clutch? Okay. For some reason, I kept wanting to say trench coat, but
No, that's an entire. That's a specific application of 3 kobolds.
It's the only time I've ever heard of them in a group. So, all right. So, a clutch of kobolds are extremely angry, and I'm gonna say that the werefox is blamed because he started stockpiling some of the fish, and it just so happened that the clutch of kobolds was like sheltering just outside of the barn on like the other side of the wall where the fish were. So when the fish kind of like started to rot, it made that area kind of smell and some of, you know. So yeah, so I think that's what it is. The kobolds lashed out because they were angry because their little area was, you know, basically kind of, you know, stank and ruined, and it was the werefox's fault as far as the community is concerned.
Nice. Yeah, you can totally.
So, all right. So then that means that the one project die ticks down. And then for an action, start a project. I think for the I think the start a project is I think it's going to be in response for the ruining the spot where the kobolds were living. I think the fox is going to start a project to build them a new shelter.
Cool.
Kind of like you know, to repay for having messed up. So I think we'll little shelter here.
Did Project Anti-Lake Monster get taken down already?
It did.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. All right. This is my turn. All right. Someone begins to address an urgent need, no matter the cost. Start a project that will alienate some monsters in the community. Or someone demands that a constitution be written. What rules do they propose that anger the community? Oh, man. It's a great question. The lake monster begins a project of eating the people, trying to get rid of it. No. It's a very short-term project.
That would anger someone in the or would alienate the griffins.
It would. When you eat someone, you alienate them, I find. No.
Well, at least the rest of their family.
Yeah, it would, yeah. That's true. What do you think about this? No matter the cost. Huh. I have a couple of different thoughts. Let me see here. Yeah, okay, here we go. The project is to set a watch rotation over the portals. to monitor their activity and defend, because it's like there's this concern that something might come through from the other side. And do we think that would alienate the monsters that are trying to use the portals, or is that if it's not alienation enough, then I have something stronger.
I don't know if the Griffins are pursuing the portals anymore, even though they have like direct dials to the portals.
Yeah.
I mean, I think
thinking about collapsing them, possibly. That might do it.
I don't. It has the potential to alienate, depending on how aggressive the watch is. Like if they're kind of like, like if somebody is just, starts wandering towards it and they're like, what are you doing? And if you're like, oh, I just want to go out for a walk, they're kind of like, no, this is for, foraging purposes only or something. Or if, maybe if one of the one of the guards has like the wrong idea initially, and so they prevent somebody from going through the portal when they should have allowed them to go through. It has the potential to alienate. Just depends on, how much of a jerk the guard wants to be.
Well, actually, okay, now I've got something simpler. I have something considerably simpler that I can do. I'm going to start a project where the centaurs are going to form a militia.
Okay.
I feel as though... I
think the Griffins get alienated for sure because they want to be the Air Force.
Yeah. So
and the militia has an Air Force.
But there's very much this sort of I want to protect what's going on type deal here. So this is actually something that can sort of spring almost sort of ideologically even from that conflict that happened at the training ground. But I know they're going to start actually put together a militia and actually start positioning them in different places, and it's not going to be necessarily that
advanced.
Sort of it's going to be like, why are you here? So that when they start doing these patrols, so I think that'll be the project. So let's see, I'm going to draw... I think a couple of spears, sort of crossed spears to represent that. And just do that. So let's see, project dice tick down by 1. We are almost at Lake Monster eviction time.
Maybe.
And let's see.
Because you can choose to fail, right?
You can, yeah. You just decide how it ends when when it comes around to finishing.
Just curious.
Oh, no problem.
Oh, you still have your
Yeah,
turn
I'm trying to decide
your action.
yeah. Okay. I would like to agree on some.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to agree on something, or rather, I'd like to make a statement that I think others will disagree with.
Okay.
I think that Thiel, the forest gnome, is going to say that the Cetra, the pond creature, is very much a part of the natural order here, and that we should not be so hasty about trying to push her away. For if we do, we may not, know what we don't necessarily know what we're opening ourselves up to. If that happens.
Uh-huh. I think Mr. Griffin, in his silence, sort of, is going to heavily beat his wings in an effort to be like, knock it off and actually knock over the forest gnome. And then he turns his back to the forest gnome.
See if we'll do any more bar mitzvahs for you.
All right. My audio cut out for part of that. I wanted to make sure you said what was it that was being put forth.
The forest gnome is saying that we shouldn't be so hasty in evicting the pond creature because it's part of the natural order, and we don't know what repercussions may happen as a result of us doing that.
Yeah, I just okay. I wanted to make sure I'd heard you correctly. So yeah, I think that the werefox kind of nods in agreement.
Cool. Oh, there we are. We've had our discussion. And I'll put a little dot over by there. There you go.
Conflict fails among the community members, and as a result, a project fails, which I was maybe considering having happen anyway. Introduce a dark mystery among the community. Who discovers it? Well, I could basically have the first question regardless. I don't know if I have an idea for the dark mystery. Oh, okay. I'm gonna actually introduce a dark mystery. And it's gonna be whoever's on watch at the circles. I think what happens...
I didn't set up the project die for that, did I? I'm sorry.
Oh, so the project isn't completed yet?
No, not yet.
Well,
we didn't say how many weeks it would take.
I still imagine that there are still people around the circles starting to find them all and gather.
Yeah, they're starting the project, so they're starting it up. But,
so I'm going to take dark to be a dark mystery quite literally. One of the teleportation circles activates, and the only thing that comes through it is like dark shadows.
Ooh.
Also, the Griffins and Nessie are going to talk it out, and they actually help each other hunt for fresh fish.
Ah, that's how that project ends. Cool.
Yes. So it doesn't actually end with getting rid of our Loch Ness monster friend, who has another name, but that's my turn. Oh no! Shoot! I still have to do another action.
Yeah.
That's a thing that has to happen.
I preemptively decided. I just sort of decided that the militia would take like 4 weeks to fully put together, and so I'm going to take it down to 3 if folks are okay with that.
You should probably be down to 2.
Well,
Oh, no.
it was it was
It was the
established
last...
during my previous So
oh,
this
okay.
is still just.
I thought it was the whatever. It doesn't matter. Cool. Sounds like a deal. No, I thought the last turn you had was you agreed on something.
Right, but I started a project as a result of the card that I drew that turn.
Oh, okay. Brain isn't braining very well.
Yeah, no worries.
Which is unfortunate because I have more RPG playing to play. I think I'm going to discover something old.
Cool.
Or uncover something old.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what happens is there is a far off nest that's probably by one of these portals, not that we're allowed to use said portal.
Mm-hmm.
Of what looks like ancient big feathered creatures, but the creatures don't seem to be in the nest still.
Ooh, that's scary. That's a thing.
I'm thinking rock-sized birds.
Yeah, me too.
And I'm gonna do my best attempt at a nest by just kind of drawing crossed lines. That's supposed to be a nest. Use your imaginations.
Yeah, okay.
Squint really hard, maybe you'll see it.
Yeah.
That's my turn.
All right. All right. Trusting in human technology gets somebody injured or embarrassed. How? Remove an adoption. Or an elder admonishes some of the other monsters about an unseemly behavior. What does the elder say? Add a new taboo.
Those both are good. We need to work on adding new adoptions. So.
Yeah, it's not required, but we need to just keep an eye out for if we start doing that.
I'm gonna say so I'm gonna kind of loosely interpret unseemly behavior here a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm thinking is that a couple of the other monsters that have been training
Mm-hmm.
kind of are starting to take it just a little too seriously. And one of the elders starts admonishing them, because the what the elder is saying is this is the way that the humans act, and we don't want to be like that. We want to be better than that. And so what I want to say is for the taboo is going to be the taboo is going to be I'm trying to think of the best way to say this concisely. The taboo is that we don't want an army. Like having a defense is one thing, but we don't want an actual soldiers. We don't want,
Okay. So it's so the taboo is against soldiers, I guess we'll say, or
yeah,
or army. Okay. Interesting. Okay. The funny part about this is that we actually that the monsters can still do whatever they want, but it's just interesting to see the effect there. Cool.
Mm.
I feel as though some of the centaurs are not going to like that, and they're going to take opprobrium.
Well, I mean, they're centaurs, so
Yeah.
it's understandable that they would take offense to being called a standing army.
Excuse me a moment. I need to take another contempt token now.
That's another IRL contempt token.
Yeah, it's another IRL contempt token. Maybe we need those boxes down there after all. Okay, so I take that project down, and what do you want to do?
I think start a project.
Mm-hmm.
And this one I'm gonna say is probably gonna take a bit of time. So I'm thinking that this one will probably take. Let's go with about. We haven't really had like a long project, so let's go with about 5 weeks. And what it is using the teleportation circle to find other communities of monsters to be able to kind of trade with or whatever.
We're just racking these up right now.
Say that again?
I took another contempt token.
Oh.
The centaurs are not fans of the teleportation circles. It's human stuff, don't want to trust them.
We've never established it's actually human stuff.
This is true, but this is the perception that the centaurs have.
Okay, that's fair. I'll give you that one.
Yeah. They're
Awesome. So over to me, I think. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
no horsing around with human technology allowed.
That's 3 IRL contempt took. I'm just kidding. I don't actually despise puns that much.
We're now going to go to an extended break, during which I will start a new casting process for the last 30 minutes of this show. Okay. Okay. So 7. A monster speaks up about grievances from before the occupation, agree on something about the old conflicts of this community, or one of the monsters threatens or alarms another, what provoked them in the most immediate sense. Ah. Interesting. Something before the occupation. It's a good question because I'm trying to figure out. It's hard to think that far back. The old conflicts of this community. Ah, okay. Okay. Yeah. So here's the thing. That is... I'm just trying to figure out how it's communicated. Because I think it's the pond creature who's going to bring this up. So, I think that the way that they communicate this, I have to be careful how yeah. This is going to sound somewhat enigmatic, I think. Because they're communicating kind of, there's this sort of empathic thing that they do.
Ooh, I like that.
When trying to explain this. And so you're basically going to get visions that suggest that it actually has to do with a vision of the portal and a vision of a powerful ancient fey creature. And moving through things like these portals in different parts of the forest. And then a vision of what sort of this creature imagines is the project going on up there, because of course it can't really see. She can't really see what's happening up there. But you're going to get a sort of a very major sense of concern at old things being disturbed. And this uncertainty as to how that's going to go. And that's their statement in this agreeing on something in this conversation.
I think that what the lake monster sees is like the quills or the spines like sticking straight up and the feathers like ruffling to try to make themselves look like bigger, and that's their way of like agreeing with it, that like this is a thing we should be worried about, or that we should be ready to defend ourselves against.
Cool.
I think I think the werefox just kind of leans back, didn't really say anything.
Interesting. Strange, enigmatic things going on here. Okay, so the project dice tick down. And then I must decide to do a thing.
Mm-hmm.
What thing shall I decide to do? Shall I do the thing that I've had in my pocket for a while? Perhaps I
Sure.
shall. Just to make it that much stranger. Okay. I'm going to, I think we're going to discover, or, going to uncover something old. And, the thing that is old that we are going to uncover is going to have to do with, with beings coming up out of this chasm.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah. I think we are going to have yeah, let's do that. So these fiery imps are going to start appearing
Oh, okay.
around the mouth of the chasm.
Oh, that's a thing now.
So they're doing some kind of reconnaissance from deep down below.
I did forget to draw the dark shadows coming out of a portal, so I should probably do that
too.
while...
Yeah. Just while we're preparing our apocalypse.
I have to change colors, Roll20. Why you do this to me? Did I freeze Roll20 for me?
There we go. Fiery imps. Delightful creatures. Oh, I also forgot to put a little dot down there to signify that we had talked about the portal. There we go.
There.
All right.
Best I can do for shadows.
No problem. And that's my turn.
Well, it's my turn. I can
Yes.
do the things and stuff.
Both of them. Yeah.
A project finishes early. Say how it resolved, who proved themselves most valuable in its early completion. Or a charismatic monster harnesses the excitement and goodwill of the community. Start a new project. Well, your project isn't starting early, or wouldn't finish early, if I picked
Yeah, it's about to
yours,
finish
Jim.
anyway.
But I kind of like the idea of, like...
Finishes 5 minutes early.
High five, centaurs!
Yeah.
Hoof click. I think it's the portal
Mm-hmm.
that finishes early. I think we do find another community, but it's like more humanoid monsters. And I actually think the teleportation circle should turn into a taboo because of this, between the shadows coming out and the humanoid monsters. Like, they're probably more like the, like, in between ape and man, but like we all freak out about it as if they are human.
Yeah.
Because they're more advanced, they
They're
have
like-
tools, like...
Yeah, so they're like
They're the, like, probably...
Neanderthals or
more close to the human end of the
Cro-Magnons?
like evolution thing, but they're not quite human.
I can't remember whether it was the Cro-Magnon or the Neanderthals that are the ones that got wiped out.
And I actually think it was a werefox going on an infiltration mission. That actually, like, was the one that saw these and, like, immediately, like, sounded the alarm once it, like, dialed our local portal back.
Interesting.
You get charged extra for long distance portal calls.
Yeah. Gotta be careful with that.
Sorry, I couldn't. Never mind. So I think that project is going to be done.
Mm-hmm.
Raiding parties always call collect.
They do.
Because that's just more fun. Like, we just happened to get lucky, question mark? I guess I'd rather have bad luck than no luck. How do I draw that? I'm gonna draw a big X through the portal.
No, bad!
Oh no, I'm actually gonna draw a circle and then put the line through it. Like, no more portals. In bright red. If it will cooperate with me.
We're going to put a sternly worded sign out there. That'll keep them from coming through.
If I could easily draw a skull and crossbones, that also would probably be the symbol that's, like, nearby on a tree or something. But
Nice.
there. No, we're gonna go full on X in the circle.
Awesome.
And what I'm going to do for my project, or my action. Do I want to do a project? Well, do you want to tell us how you resolve your project
the
while
militia.
I think about it?
Yes, the militia is complete, and given the levels of contempt that they currently carry, I think that they are going to. So once the militia forms, and they're with all of this, these new threats potentially, suddenly discovering this other civilization through the portals that everyone's afraid of, and that they're more human-like, and discovering that these imps are starting to show up, and that no one is going to trust probably. I think they are actually going to go a bit more militaristic than what people want, and which is still going to break a current taboo. No soldiers, but it seems that in so doing, these centaurs are going to kind of more isolate themselves because they're going in a direction that that they're not supposed to go. And they continue training more and going on these routes now, these patrol routes. So, yeah, I think that I think the way I'm going to demonstrate that. Oh, this is terrible, but I'm going to do it anyway. So you remember these little arrows that I drew up here?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to maneuver them just a bit. No, I want to change kind of the yeah, there we go. Yeah, actually I'm just going to redraw them. That'll be easier. I'm going to redraw some of these arrows as they have decided they have a somewhat larger mandate now.
Cool. While you're doing that,
Yeah.
I like the idea of finding like a human mass grave. One of the maybe one of the were foxes, because they are canine of the canine family. So I think what happens, we're gonna find something new, and it's a mass grave of like either like a plague, or maybe as they were pushing us out, we tried to fight back, but they won, but still had a lot of casualties, so they just buried them all in one grave. But I think the way we find it is one of the were foxes like digs up a bone or sees a bone on the surface and then like starts digging. And so I drew a. Oops. I would help to have a headstone.
Oh, nice.
Like away from the main like farmstead. Wow, take up the whole area.
Yeah, I know. I drew considerably more than an inch on there. So if folks want me to pull back, I will on that. But
no, I wasn't really paying attention to what you were doing until I looked up and saw it.
But yeah, this is. They are taking rather a very specific mandate now. That's very, very deliberately pushed. So feel free to take more contempt, by the way.
Yeah, Jesus.
Actually, I feel as though I'm going to also take contempt for some of these other creatures about that. Because that's a very contentious thing they just did.
It almost seems like us versus them-ish.
To an extent, it does, yeah.
Fine, I was your friend until that.
Yeah. I think, actually, I'm going to even take some contempt on the part of these imps up here. Because they're being affected as well.
Oh.
I did a thing to cause myself contempt. So it is about 10 to 6. So when I have a proposition here, if folks don't mind, since this has gone longer than I expected it to, but we were sort of getting into it. So if you don't mind, I'm thinking about doing a very short
Oh no, something is happening in chat.
I'm thinking about doing a very short autumn, and then maybe just when winter hits, that's it.
That was fine. Or I was gonna say skip autumn altogether and just go to the end is also an option.
I was thinking maybe of doing it where we each get to draw an autumn card. So it's like one, but then
To get an idea of the flavor. Because
yeah,
I was reading that each season has a
yeah,
flavor to their questions.
yeah, totally. And so it's like we'd each draw an autumn card, but then we would immediately go to winter, and then winter is basically we only draw one card when winter happens.
That's fine.
Yeah, I'm cool.
And that is the king of
King of Winter.
Spades, the end of Spades. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and pull autumn out here, and we can eat. And so I think it's Rock's turn, yeah. Yeah.
All right. All right. An old thing discovered on the map starts to attract monster outsiders on pilgrimages. Agree on something about the problems these pilgrimages are causing. All right, so an old thing discovered on the map. Is this a new old thing that has to be added to the map, or is this a thing that could be, like that
I think it
is
can be
already on
something
the
that's already there, just from the way I'm reading it. But if you want, you can add a new thing.
map? Okay. No, I wanted to make sure, because that's what I was thinking is that it, using something that's already on the map.
Yeah.
The lake monster.
Yes.
There are monsters, as monsters are moving through our area, on the, either on their way to new monster settlements or whatever. They've heard about the lake monster, and it's kind of a thing. So it's
Tourists.
yeah, exactly. We have monster, we have tourists, basically.
Oh, nice.
And the agree on something, I think, is going to be that the werefox proposes that that this is going to be a problem, that as monsters are moving through, some of them aren't necessarily respecting the community, like a lot of them kind of are, but some of them aren't, and that we need to take action to kind of dissuade people from coming to see the monster.
Yeah, I think that yeah, I actually don't think I'm going to be. I don't think I'm going to do the. I don't think I'm going to have the voice of the etc. in this right now, which is because it's really about them to a certain extent. But I think that. I think that Krydos, the heat monster, however, is going to agree. I think that he kind of will sort of, and he can kind of speak. He's made of leaves, but he sort of has this essence that you can you sort of hear, you can get what he's kind of saying, in that it's there's going to be folks coming through are going to encroach on are going to encroach on the on Isetra, on the pond creature, and make it more difficult for her. She needs her privacy, because she is by nature fairly giving, but needs not be taken advantage of.
Cool. I think the griffins, like the lake monsters, their best bud. Once they came to this agreement about fishing and helping each other out. So what you see them do is it's kind of not unlike what came out of the chasm, where they get like all poofed up to like twice their size with their like spines ready to attack. Like I must protect my peeps. Yep.
Yeah. Nice. Very cool. So, let's see. Do we have any projects running? No, I don't think we do.
Kind of not worth it at this point.
Yeah,
Since we're
that's fair. Yeah.
extremely shortening the game.
But, so Rock, you got to move. Another discussion about that.
You mean take an action?
Yes, you get an action.
Okay. I can't really think of anything at this point. Since we're
Do we
kind
just
of
want to
shortening.
skip it?
Yeah.
You don't have to, but I mean, we don't have to. No, but
In an effort to save time.
Yeah, I'm good with skipping it at this point
Yeah.
because
I will say it's not a hard and fast. It's not a hard stop for me necessarily. We can. Like I said, I want to try to get us out in time. If you folks want to make it a hard stop, that's fine.
I have stuff I need to do in between
sure.
things.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. All right. No, that's no problem.
I mean, I can go a little bit long, but I don't.
Yeah. Okay. Sure. No problem.
I need another nap in between things.
I have heard of these things called naps. I understand they're awesome. So I got. So the strongest among you dies. What caused the death? Or the weakest among you dies. Who's to blame for their death? Oh, holy crap. Okay. Strongest or weakest? The Centaur civilization quite suddenly collapses.
Well, that almost makes it sound like it could be an individual.
Yeah. Well, yeah, no, it easily could be. I think that actually I'm going to go with the quote-unquote weakest among you dies. I think that I think it's the heap monster. I think someone sets them ablaze. Yeah.
I liked Grimer.
Yeah. Krydos is no more. I don't know if we know I don't know if we know who did it, but I think that it's I think someone set him on fire. I think that the after the Enchanted Forest CSI comes out to take a look, they determine, by which I mean the centaurs, after they come out to take a look, They determined that that someone set him on fire. I think people want to blame the imps for it, but whether they did it or not, we don't know.
All I can think of is a spin-off series of CSI Enchanted Forest.
I want that so badly.
A monster attempts an ancient ritual that ends in tragedy, adds something to the map to represent what was lost. Or a monster sacrifices something precious in an ancient ritual for power, add something to the map to represent what was gained. Ooh, these are such tough questions.
Yeah, autumn wails into you. I think that's
yes.
That's why I wish we had more time.
Yes, we got into the world building part of this game.
Yeah.
Which seems to happen when I play for the Queen too. Monster attempts an ancient ritual that ends in tragedy. Add something to the map to represent what's lost. I think what happens is the griffins actually will take spines in an effort to try to gain more power and become more ferocious. But what actually happens in reality, and I'm not going to make you delete all of them off of my wonderful drawing, is they actually lose their spines. So they lose one of their I guess both offensive and defensive weapons.
Yeah.
So I'm going to draw a quill.
Oh no. Awesome.
Or rather try.
Yeah.
Oh no, the humans are coming. The humans are coming.
The humans are coming. So, just by way of demonstration, I'm just going to fish this out. Oh, it was only like 3 cards in.
Well, of course it was.
I just opened it up and it's only just... So what we would have gotten here, I'll draw real quick just to show you. So the next card that Rock would have gotten was going to be, in preparation for the coming year, the community begins a huge undertaking, and you start a project that'll take at least 5 weeks to complete, which we'll never finish. And then the card I would have gotten would have been, one of you begins to manifest new human qualities, what are they? Or one of you begins to manifest new monstrous qualities, what are they?
These are good questions.
They are, aren't they?
I want to play this game again.
I know, right? And
Kinda
then
like
finally, in King of Spades, Winter, the heroes arrive. The game is over.
And are we supposed to talk about the demise of our new civilization? Or is it just over?
What they say, it's kind of that it's just over. During play, it's best to leave the heroes an elusive mystery, perhaps hinting at what they might be, but never directly answering. The game ends abruptly when the King of Spades is drawn. The card is read aloud, and the game immediately concludes. Once the game is over, it is fine to talk about what the heroes might have been, what their arrival might have meant for the community, or any of the other situations that were faced throughout their year. With the game over, the limits placed on communication and discussion are suddenly lifted. And that's it. Thus endeth the game.
It's an interesting game.
Yeah.
I would put it on my to play again pile.
Yeah, definitely.
Or if I want to get a group of people together to play a game pile, which also has For the Queen in it.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. I really like this game, and I wish that they made a physical version of it. It's something that like an official physical. It's possible to have one made if you just like as a one-off, but if you go and you find the resources for that or to make it yourself. But I kind of wish they did put that out. And I understand, cost being a thing, but
That's
I
one of
have
the
more
things-
fun with this than I do with the Quiet Year.
I haven't played the Quiet Year, but that's also on the list of things to play.
Yeah, and I say I love the Quiet Year. I enjoy playing it, but this version I like better.
Yeah.
I just think it's interesting because communication is very different unless you specifically choose creatures that have the ability to do language other than body language, because I would say that that's a whole language in and of itself.
Yeah. I think it would be interesting to I know like how this game is initially set up to be played and you draw on a map and it's kind of a literal pen and paper kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I think this would be interesting to do at a game shop and get one of the big 4x8 tables and have like putting down actual 3D scenery for it and just kind of building the map that way on a much more physical layer. I think that would be, if anything, it would be interesting to photograph how the community kind of restores itself that way.
So I watched a game developers talk. I don't remember what convention it was at, and one of the things that they brought up was artifacts of play. So like we've worked together and played for how many hours, and we can look at our drawings and have distinct memories of when everything was added to the map. And to me, that's kind of cool because you can you can share memories of like a Dungeons and Dragons game, but this game is literally built around collaborative artwork, basically making art together, more so than a like traditional pen and paper RPG, which I think is cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I have artist friends that I still wish that I could have had a chance to play this with. I have played this at conventions, and with people physically, and it's a really neat experience. I have a lot of fun with it. I am glad that I was able to put this together for Roll20, and that it's there's still of course ways to do it there. I think the first time I ever played it was online, and then I played it in person. But it's a neat thing.
Yeah, I think it would be interesting because you could always just use a physical deck of card and have the questions listed out in a form on some sort of format.
Yeah, and that's how they actually have it. You can download just a list of the
what's on what card.
The cards, yeah. That's what it comes with a list that you can get for it. But yeah, I did have the Oracle, they call it, which includes a page of reference cards.
That's what that was.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. I did put a thing together. I did get my own made just so that I can do it at conventions, but it's unfortunately I've not got a chance to use it yet.
Yeah, it's funny how that works.
Yeah, weird that. Yeah, I mean, there was a convention I had scheduled it for, but no one showed up, unfortunately. But then no chances for that this year. But reality. What can I tell you? Mm-hmm. Well, folks, thank you all very much for watching. This has been very cool. We're going to go ahead and go around and do our outros. During which point you can say where folks can find you online, and then any final thoughts you had about this game. And we're going to go reverse order, so we will start with Rock.
Hey, I can be found pretty much anywhere just by looking for Rock and Roll. That's Twitter, Facebook, whatever. That's where I'm at. So I had a great time with this. I found that it, more so than most other games, was thinking more about the group. I mean, usually I like to try and play kind of like a support character generally, but this was even more group conscious than I found myself being in those other games. So this is I think this is definitely like this would definitely be a game to suggest for like team building exercises. So I definitely think that this definitely works towards community building kind of things. And I had a lot of fun. So
Awesome, awesome. And now back up to Theater Nerd.
Hi, my name, I am Theater Nerd. Tomorrow afternoon, I'm running Blades in the Dark, and we're getting down to the end, and it is a game I pretty much do no prep for, so it's a lot of fun, a lot of weird off-the-cuff things happen. My head has an idea, and that's comes out my mouth. That easiest way to keep up with everything I do is on Twitter. I try to tweet and or retweet things and stuff that are going on that you can see me in, but that's about all I have going on publicly.
Cool. Any final thoughts about the game, or are we good?
Oh yeah, sorry.
No
This game is basically a giant improv game if you think about it. Kind of, and I like it for the same reasons I like For the Queen. It's prompt-based storytelling, and it's like purest, simplest form.
Awesome. Yeah. No, it is really cool. I do enjoy prompt-based storytelling games. They are quite good. Awesome. Okay. Well, once again, I'm Jim Ryan. You can find me at OtherDoc on both Twitch and Twitter. My website is jim.com, where you can find my Geek Observation podcast and links to my various other podcasts, audio dramas, writings, and such. I have links down below to my website, Twitter, YouTube channel, and some of my fiction and games I've been working on, along with links to game signups and applications to join our Discord. Once again, just as a reminder, the Sprawl campaign that we play on Thursday nights is still doing a donation drive for the Vale project. And so if you want to check that out, we are Team Phyllis on Tiltify. And I've gone ahead and put the link in chat for anyone who wants to consider donating to them. They provide bail assistance to protesters. Very important right now. And also, of course, once again, I like to raise awareness about Campaign Zero, which is dedicated to ending police violence. Please check that out as well. In something like an hour, we will be going back to our Dark Matter campaign, Ghosts of Saltmaw. That's Ghosts of Salt Marsh in Space, run by Alyssa. Very much looking forward to that. And then tomorrow, I'm going to be over on Salty Sweet Games, playing in their 5e campaign, Strange Invasion, Assault on the Barrier Peaks. On Tuesday night, we have the finale of our short campaign for June, Casketland. That is an occult western that's powered by the Apocalypse. On Thursday night, as previously mentioned, is The Sprawl, another powered by the Apocalypse game that is Cyberpunk. We're starting our final mission. And then on Saturday, we have Invisible Sun, The Edge of Paradox. We're getting close to the end of our season, finally, our one-year season on that one. And then we're going to have a hiatus on it. So just the last couple sessions coming up for that Saturday night. And then Sunday afternoon, 1 week from today, we have another session, another one-shot of The Deep Forest. This time there are going to be 5 of us. We're going to, I think I may try to do a little bit more prep for that one. We'll see how that one goes. But very much looking forward to that. If you want to tune in and see see the chaos erupt on that one. Right now, I don't have any official signups going. I will shortly put in signups for some one-shots next month of Stille Nacht and Monster of the Week, which are going to be run by some guest folks who will be coming in to do that. But I thank you all very much for watching. At the end card, we're going to send a raid over to, let me see, who shall we raid? I'm going to send a raid over to. I'm going to send a raid over to Jess at Go JG, as they're doing right now a 12-hour tabletop game stream for they're playing for the Trevor Project charity. So we're going to go ahead and say hi to them. Feel free to hang out if you are so inclined, and say hi to them with us. That again will be when we hit the end card. In the meantime, folks, thank you all very much for watching. Take care, and I will see you all of a sudden. Farewell.